Welcome back, golf fans. Chris here with the Jagerbomb Sports to bring you another DFS PGA preview show. This week, the PGA Tour kicks off the Florida swing at PGA National for the Cognizant Classic and what used to be known as the Honda Classic. What was once a fairly high-profile event has become a week off for most of the top players in the world. The main reason for that, we just finished back-to-back signature events on the West Coast, and to make matters worse, next week is another signature event with the Arnold Palmer Invitational, followed by the Players Championship. The field looked pretty grim to start the week and got even worse as Monday went on. Withdrawals to Ben Griffin, Adam Scott, last week's winner Jacob Bridgman, Patrick Rogers, and Taylor Pendrith all dropped out. Good field, bad field, either way, we're here to break it all down from a fantasy perspective. Before we get started, if you're not already signed up for our PGA package, make sure to head over to patreon.com/Jagerbombs and check out our subscription options. We provide single tournament, monthly, and yearly options. With your subscription, you get weekly cheat sheets with stats, breakdowns, history, form, customizable models, picks, ranks, scores, access to our Discord channel and coaches, and much more. And for a limited time, you can not only get our PGA package, but you get all of our sports content for just $5 for the first month. That's PGA, NASCAR, NBA, NHL, college basketball, and a whole lot more for just one low price. Take advantage of this offer today by heading over to patreon.com/Jagerbombs, choose the all sports package, and use promo code Jaeger5. With that, we are going to jump in and start with a preview of the course over here on the sheet. So we're looking at PGA National, the championship course this week. We are looking at a par 71, 7,233 yards. The course used to be one of the toughest tests on tour, annually ranking inside the top five in terms of average scoring. That has changed a little bit since it's flipped from the Honda Classic to the Cognizant with some renovations to the course. The fairways are a little bit wider than they used to be. One thing that it does have, when you're looking at the average PGA course, you're looking at about 5 holes with water in play. Not here at PGA National. There are 15 holes with water in play. That is the biggest defense on the course here outside of the weather, which we will break down here in a minute as well. So yeah, we'll jump over. We're going to look at some of the course history here. So as you can see, 2024 is when the renovation happened here between 23 and 24 event. 24 was when it became the Cognizant Classic. 23 and back was the Honda Classic. So as you can see, minus 14 Chris Kirk, minus 10 Sepp Straka. Matt Jones won at minus 12. We've seen some minus 6, minus 9. So annually, we were seeing about minus 8 to minus 12 winning score. Well, that has changed a lot now. We're up in the last 2 years since those renovations, minus 17 with Austin Eckroat and minus 19 with Joe Highsmith, the winner last year. Now, looking at players that hit double digits in terms of scoring, as you can see here, we had like 4. We had 1 in 2022. We had 1 in 2021. And then going back even further, we had no players for 3 straight years that hit those double digits under par. Last year, 2024, we had 27 players hit double digits under par. And then last year, there were 38 players. So we're looking at things a little bit differently this year coming in. A little bit more scoring than, say you're like your bogey avoidance and playing it safe. So we are looking at that as well. Going back to the course here, we've got a long the par threes. We've got 2 long par threes, 217, 226. We've got 2 average ones at 179, 175. 5 of those par fours are coming in between 4 and 450. That's going to lead to a lot of mid-iron approaches. So that's something that we're going to be looking at. We'll talk about that shortly. The par fives, nothing too big except for the 18th hole. A bit of a beast here, par 5, 592 yards. All right, moving on, we are going to discuss some weather this week. So coming in, we're going to have a lot warmer weather than we've seen last week in terms of Thursday, Friday weather. Get some little bit of wind going up in the afternoon. So if you are playing showdown, I don't think you're going to go full AM at this point. The winds aren't too great. They're not going to make that big of an impact, but it is going to be very calm in the morning. Prime scoring conditions, so I would probably want to mix, if you're looking at it, maybe a 4-2 split. If you're looking at it that way, it depends when the tee times come out, and that will be updated on the sheet as well. Friday, Again, the winds are pretty calm throughout the whole entire day. Again, we're warm in the mid 70s, getting up into 80s. Gonna have some rain on Saturday. The winds are staying down pretty much throughout the whole week here, as you can see, maybe in the 13 to 15 mile an hour gust range, which isn't too bad at all. But we are going to get some soft conditions on the weekend, so pay attention to that going into the weekend. All right, so what we're going to do here is we're going to go through the sheet, and we are going to look at some core stats now. 3 to 4 core stats. So first up for me this week is going to be strokes gained approach. You're going to have to be on with your irons, even though it does play a little bit easier, off the tee. It's still fairly narrow fairways, but I don't think guys are too worried about being, less than driver as much as they used to. So I think we're going to see a lot of drivers out there that we, maybe didn't see from 2023 and back. So stroke gain approach becomes very important because the greens, again, surrounded by water, a lot of danger up there around the greens still. So being on with a strong approach game, that's going to be my number one stat. So we're going to look at some players who stand out in terms of strokes gained approach so far this season. Up first, we got Austin Smotherman, 1.3. So he's quite a bit ahead of everybody else. Sam Ryder's up there and Carson Young. Those are the 3 players that have gained on average over a stroke on approach per round so far. And then following them, we've got David Lipsky, Johnny Kiefer, Shane Lowry, Ryan Gerard, number 1 and 2 in my overall rankings for good reason. David Ford, young player coming off the university PGA Tour university, finished number 1, so he earned his card that way. He's got a small sample so far this season, but the ball striking has been very good. The putting in the short game hasn't quite been there, as you can see with some of these other players that have top irons, Johnny Kiefer, Austin Smotherman. So we're going to be looking for players, approach, and then also with some short game, probably more putting than around the green, because if you're on with your irons, you're not going to have to worry about that around the green as much, but you're going to want to have a hot putter because, again, going into our next stat, birdie or better is going to be very important. As you can see, minus 17, minus 19. And we talked about how many players hit that double digits below par over the last few years. So let's look at some of that birdie or better percentage here as well. David Lipsky's up there at number 1. Shane Lowry, number 2, 33%. Blades Brown is back this week. He doesn't have his full card, so he's been playing on the Corn Ferry Tour over the last few weeks since his kind of breakout there earlier in the year. But so it's kind of a small sample size for him. Can he get back on track? We'll see. He hasn't really stood out too much on the Corn Ferry Tour, so I don't think I'm on him this week. Carson Young got in the field late. Andrew Putnam is here. Ricky Castillo. Will Zalatoris is back this week. Davis Riley, Lanto Griffin, Sam Ryder, and then we see Ryan Gerard up there as well. Rasmus Højgaard, Steven Yeager. Outside of that, I do like bogey avoidance. I mean, it's something that we're still going to look at here with 15 holes with water in play. So we are going to look at some guys that are top in bogey avoidance. Blades Brown, obviously number 1, Carson Young. So we're seeing a lot of the same players show up in some of these stats here. So I know for me, my 2 top guys, and with how many withdrawals we've seen so far this week, it's going to be top guys on a lot of boards. It's going to be very high ownership here, probably on Shane Lowry and Ryan Gerard for good reason. I hope you got on their odds early in the week in terms of betting. When I came out with my article over on fantraxhq.com for the Cognizant Classic, I wrote both of them up, got pretty good numbers early Monday morning. Those have quickly disappeared. So I'm not sure I really want to bet those outrights now, but for DFS, they are definitely in play. And one of the biggest things that we noticed with these withdrawals is we now have a tournament with no players over 10K. So we can get pretty balanced here. We can pretty much build any way that we want. Shane Lowry and Ryan Gerard up here at the top, 99, 97. We've got the Højgaards slotting in right behind at 95, 94. Keith Mitchell up there at 93. Michael Thornbjornsen, Rasmus Niergaard Peterson, and rounding out that 9K range, we got Brooks Koepka, who's back for his 3rd event since returning to the PGA Tour. Okay, so moving on, we want to look at, we were looking at strokes gain approach, but I also want to look at that mid irons. So looking at the 150 to 175, we'll start at that 150 to 175. And for me, it really comes down to how do they hit off the tee? If you're looking at the bombers, I'm looking at more of the 150 to 175. If you're looking at more a short accuracy type player, I'm looking at the 175 to 200. So it really comes down to, and if it's a really short player who's going to be accurate, maybe less than driver off the tee, if you feel it's going to go that way, the proximity over 200 plus is going to be something we're going to look at. For the most part, though, we'll kind of look at both here, driving distance. So Svensson, obviously, he's fifth in driving distance on this field. So we're going to be looking at that proximity from 150 to 175. Stands out a lot. I think he at 7,000 makes a nice GPP play in here as well. But here's the guys that do stand out from that 150 to 175 range. Keep in mind it's still early in the season, so fairly small sample sizes here. But it's good to see these guys trending in the right direction. Guys that stand out to me, who stood out in some of those other areas: Ryan Gerard, Thorn Bjornsson, Sam Ryder, Max McGreevy stands out in the overall model here as well. Let's jump into the 175 to 200 range. Patrick Fishburne, Justin Lauer, Camilo Villegas, not really interested in any of those. A lot of guys in that 6K range show up in that 175 to 200. Davis Thompson, 8,600 stands out here. Eric Cole, 7,300. Then we got Keith Mitchell and Rasmus Niergaard Peterson in that 9K range are showing up there as well. You're going to want to be good on the par fours this week as well. There's one less par five being a par 71. So we'll look at those guys. Blades Brown, obviously. Again, small sample size. Shane Lowry, Carson Young, Andrew Putnam, Ryan Gerard. So these are going to be some of the guys that are definitely going to show up in my playbook, which is going to be filled out starting after the video here today and will be finalized by around mid-afternoon tomorrow. I go top 5 players in the top tier, mid-tier, bottom tier. I provide DK Cash Core, DK GPP Core. I have my bet card up here. I haven't got it filled in yet, but you can check out my bet card, or at least the start of it, over on fantraxhq.com. Every week I write the Attacking the Green article, looking at the stats breakdown and some of my best bets. Again, like I said, I got into this article, got it written before a lot of these withdrawals came in. So I got some pretty good numbers on Ryan Gerard, Shane Lowry here, betting them top 10 as well. Those numbers have quickly disappeared. Looking at strokes gain off the tee, total driving, we'll hammer that down next. David Ford, Hao Tong Lee. That number on David Ford is also gone. So it makes it very important, especially in some of these lower events, kind of sandwiched between some of these signature events. If you can get in early Monday morning when the betting odds come out, depending on what site you're betting on, you can get some nice numbers on these guys before the withdrawals start coming in. So that was definitely a nice advantage this week, looking at bogey avoidance, Nikolai Hosgaard, Andrew Putnam. So these will be carried over into my betting and props here, and then I will be adding some more. We've got the pick six over on DraftKings for the player props, looking at round one. That will start coming in Wednesday afternoon as well. And it's the same with the showdown player pool for round one here as well. And then throughout the week, if you're new to Jagerbaum's Fantasy Sports, throughout the week, as the tournament is on, when round one is over, we have a section that will pop up that will show live. You're going to have live odds. We're going to have live stats. We're going to have live, birdie totals and that sort of thing. Over on the right-hand side where the model is, you're going to see it start being filled in by the live stats. We're going to be breaking that down a little bit more to help out for anyone that does play showdown or that pick six or any site that has the props out there going by round. So we will look at that as well. Now, I mentioned total driving. So that's one thing with this course is with the birdies now, we see the lot lower scores here at the course at PGA National than we did see at the Honda Classic in the past, which was a very less than driver heavy set up for guys off the tee because you didn't want to hit that danger. The fairways are a little bit wider now, a little bit more forgiving. So distance becomes a little bit more because with the danger around the greens, if you're laying back, you're going to have long irons. You're going to be looking at, 175 to 200 plus coming into these greens surrounded by water. Tons of danger. So if you can get your driver out there a little bit further, maybe knock off 10, 15, 20 yards off that approach shot, it's going to make that a little bit easier and allow you to hit those greens in regulation, which are now averaging, instead of, sub 60%, we're looking at 65 to 70% greens in regulation. It's going to give you a lot more opportunities to hit those birdies. So looking at some of these guys in total driving, we talked about a few of them already. Well, Blades Brown's up there again, small sample size, but there's David Ford. We talked about him coming off PGA Tour University, Jesper Svensson. And these guys, in terms of total driving, looking at the distance and accuracy, a lot of these guys near the top are good in both. But generally, I would probably be more 60% versus driving distance versus accuracy. I think getting that added distance down there, even if you're slightly in the rough for the second cut, is going to make a huge difference. Like I said, not having to use your long irons going into these greens surrounded by water and all that danger. So a few more guys rounding out the top 10 here. We got Jordan Smith, Isaiah Salinda, Neil Shipley, Alex Smalley, Dylan Wu, and Michael Thorbjornsen, and Max Homa kind of round out that top 10 in terms of total driving. So that'll be another one that I will be looking at this week. Something else that I made an adjustment to on the sheet this week for research purposes is the current form tab. I cut the 2025 season and I added, so we can look at guys. This has been here always, the events that cuts made. So the main reason I put this tab in here was to track guys who are making the cut. Maybe if you're playing a lot of cash games, you want to know who makes cuts more consistently than others. That's what I kind of use this for. So I've now added accumulation of wins, top fives and top tens, and top 20s. So looking at the 2026 season, it's pretty, like I said, the field is it's probably the worst field we're going to see all year. Doesn't really affect us. There's still 100 and whatever, 50 players in the field. We're still building DFS lineups. We're still putting bets in. So we're going to analyze this data. Ryan Garrard leads the field in top fives, top tens, and top 20s so far this year. You can come over here and you can actually track by tournament, not just on the main tab. When you're looking at the current form here, you're just looking at finishes over the last 10 events, not necessarily breaking down which events those are. Over on the current form tab, you can see the name of the tournament. You can see how they finished at that tournament, whether they missed the cut, and what their finishes are. So a little bit deeper into your research pool if you're looking for that sort of data. So he leads the top 20s, and I actually have to drop this down. So yeah, just to show you how bad the field actually is, there's only 13 players in this field that have tallied a top 10 so far in 2026, and only one player that has multiple top 10s, and that's Ryan Garrard. Top five, same thing. There's only five players, sorry, who have a top five this year. Ryan Garrard has two of them. So pretty weak field, but I wanted to show you how you can use this current form tab to help you out with your research. All right, so that pretty much wraps it up. Looking at some core plays for me this week, we'll do that. Some guys that maybe hit on all the stats, form, course history that we looked at going forward. Obviously, I talked about Shane Lowry, Ryan Garrard. Nikolai Hojgaard is another one that will stand out for me in my player pool. And we're going to sort this by price here once again and just kind of go down the board, highlight a few players who I'm looking at. So 1, 2, 3 in my overall model. I definitely like Hojgaard and Mitchell are tied, but I do like Hojgaard. He finished 18th here last year. He's coming in red hot. Same with Lowry and Gerard. They both have course history, current form. They stand out in the stats that we talked about. So those three players would be my top. If we're looking in that top tier, those three are going to be core for me this week, and I'm going to kind of mix in two of the three. I'm going to have some lineups with all three of them in there, but I'm also going to be mixing at least two of the three of them together in those lineups. Going down the board a little bit, someone that stands out, Hao Tong Lee, and be making his first stop here, coming off a not great start, but two good finishes before that. He stood out a little bit in terms of the stats. As you can see over here, he's fourth and off the tee, second in strokes gained tee to green, sixth in ball striking, 15th over here in approach. He has struggled with the putter and the short game overall, so we'll be looking at, if he can come around with the putter, I think he's going to stand out this week. He's 16th in total driving, which I like there as well. Johnny Kiefer, the rookie, 13th in my overall model. He is 5th in strokes gained approach, 8th in total strokes gained tee to green. Again, another guy that's been having trouble with the putter. If that comes around, I think he's got upside in this event for sure. To maybe not win yet, but definitely I think he can grab a top 10 there as well. Looking at some guys maybe down, I talked about David Ford. Andrew Putnam stands out to me. So those are a couple guys that stand out in terms of getting into your core lineups this week. And like I said, I'm going to have Chris's playbook here filled out starting later today with my top tier, mid tier value. And then I will be getting into my DK Cash Core fairly soon today. And then GPP I usually have filled out by tomorrow. And if you're wanting access to this information, and like I said, all of our content for every single sport, you can take advantage of that $5 for the first month by heading to patreon.com/Jagerbombs. Grab that all sports package, use code Jaeger5, and that will get you access to our all sports package, Discord channel, and so much more. If you have any questions, leave a comment below in this video. Hit me up on Twitter at Jaeger_bombs9 or in the Discord channel if you're in there. You can also grab a free trial to our site right now, which is going to give you some limited information. The $5 package is definitely something you're going to want to take advantage of right now because it gives you everything that we do. Regular price on that is $25, but if you're just looking to get in for free, we do have content that comes out throughout the week. Last week, after the tournament started, I provided the full PGA sheet for Showdown throughout the weekend. Provide some NBA sheets throughout the week, some NHL sheets here and there as well, and then usually like one of the three NASCAR trucks, O'Reilly Auto Parts. One of those two is usually free each and every week as well. So you can get in and check that out. Give us a try. And if you, like I said, if you have any questions, reach out to myself or Dane in Discord. You become a free member, and we can answer any of your questions and help you if you'd like to upgrade maybe to that all sports package and take advantage of that $5. Thanks for tuning in once again this week, everyone, and we'll see you next week for the Arnold Palmer.